How y'all doing? It's the Geek Protagonist. I know I've been sporadically posting, and it was like a week to 2 weeks that I didn't. Just say this: I've been having technical difficulties. I usually record from my phone. My phone can't handle it no more. It has just enough space to just be a phone, and I already ordered a new one, so I had to retrofit my tablet to do something I wasn't planning on doing. I've had some other stuff going on, COVID-19 situations, not myself, but people that I know and things like that. It's just been hectic. But I didn't abandon you or anything like that. Please don't think it was as sporadic as my videos were. I was even having trouble uploading. So hopefully, when my new phone comes in, things will get back to normal. Until then, I'm going to try to use the tablet. This is technically the first test. But anyway, the reason this video is for today. I don't know what I'm going to name it yet, but basically, we've had a situation where it's been a few days ago, and more information has come out about what people have dubbed, and I actually agree with, called Cult 45. Now, these aren't people who are Republicans or they support Trump for Republicans. These people basically worship him. And that's who I consider. Some people are like, oh, if you're a Republican, you're a Cult 45. No, no. See, the problem that we're running into is that 2020 was a crap show of a year, right? And 2021's kind of so people are kind of doing this thing now where, or they have been doing, where I've seen people delete each other for you supported Trump. I can't talk to you no more. He's a fascist. Blah 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 blah. I've watched live streams where people have just been like, "Well, I'm blocking you because you said this." And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about when they're being a jerk. I'm talking about sometimes even for discussion. And I seen a lot of people do this whatabouts. So these are how I feel. These are my views, my opinions. You don't have to agree. If you want to put something in the comments, you can. This is not going to be a normal geeky video, so I still have tons of other videos if you're like, hey, I don't want to hear this, but I felt like something needed to be said. I've said something before, and I've explained. When I want to say something, I'm going to say something. Um, and this isn't even really about Trump stuff. Even though I think they just, as of yesterday, I think they pushed through for the impeachment or something. Anyway, so I started seeing people do this thing where they're like, what about Antifa? What about the BLM? Why is it that they're telling us to wear masks, but they're encouraging protests? And these different things, but then when people start asking questions, other people are trying to shut them down. Gina Carano asked questions, and I actually defended her. I don't think questions are bad, but now you have the right who are like, they're censoring us, they're shutting down. And by the way, all the news reporters, most of the ones I see on Fox, I lost all these Twitter people. I don't care if you lost your Twitter followers. Bigger things are happening than your Twitter followers. I lost my 10,000, I lost 50,000. Now, there are people who are doing this thing where Trump says big tech, they say big tech. Trump says this, then they just go with it. And you can say, oh, I did all my research. No, you watched Fox News, you listened to Trump, and that's where that came from. And they're talking about how he wanted to silence him for years or anything like that. Now, this is more about the people, like I said, not really about him. Whether you believe him or not, whether you believe the election was taken or not, or whatever. Uh, let's talk about a couple things here that I'm really starting to observe. Now, this is from a person who doesn't lean either way. It depends on the subject. I've said it before, I'll say it again. 50% of the time, you're wrong if you lean all the way to one side. And I've seen people go, all these libertards and every bad thing that's happening in the country is because of all the libertards. And then I've seen the other people go, you conservative. uh, right wing nuts, alt right, blah 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 blah. Because apparently, if you're on, if you're on the one part, you're an alt right, and if you're on the other part, you're completely stupid. If you're on the left, and if you're on the right, you're that. Here's a big issue I have. What are you gaining fighting with people about this left right situation? I've seen people lose friendships. I see people lose stuff. Now, this is stupid. You're not in the gang. You think you benefit? Well, here's where it gets really dumb. People are fighting over the president, and I'm gonna teach you something that we learned in school, because I think people seem to have forgot somewhere. There's three branches of government. There's the executive, that's the one dealing with the president. There's the judicial, that's the judges and the system like that, and then there's the legislative. That's the one that mainly affects us. That's your state government, your state rules, your state taxes, all that stuff. But people are so hard to fight about the president. They a lot of times they don't even remember to vote for the other stuff, which is crazy. That's why I went to Georgia thing. Now, also too, I don't like that people are comparing, because when this situation happened and these people who attacked the Capitol are openly, proudly Donald Trump supporters, all of a sudden, and this is the truth, whether you like it or not, Fox News immediately went, it's Antifa. Sarah Palin came out of her igloo. I haven't seen Sarah Palin in years. It's Antifa. This is Antifa. It's Antifa people. You can't take responsibility for what you did, like what your side did. Basically, what those people did at the Capitol eliminates your arguments on what about Antifa? What? No, it eliminates your argument. So here's the thing that makes the whole Black Lives Matter thing. First off, if you ever noticed something, when you looked up Antifa when it first heard, because I never heard about Antifa until Trump said something, there was not really anything there. There was something there, but it was like nothing. And they turned Antifa into this big boogeyman. So it's like, okay. And then there was Black Lives Matter. Now, the people who run Black Lives Matter, that, I'm trying to remember what they are. They're a charter or something. Oh, it's crazy. It's like they want to do some other weird stuff. They want to do this and do that. It's crazy, because the funny thing is, you Google a movement has a leader. Um, when you look up Antifa, I put up who leads Antifa. What is Antifa and who funds it? Fox. Antifa is a left-wing, anti-fascist, anti-racist political movement, highly decentralized and compromises an array of autonomous groups. Comprises. So basically, and that's from Wikipedia. So basically, this is what it also says. They also engage in protest tactics, seeking to combat fascists and racists such as neo-Nazis and white supremacists and other far-right extremists. So, when you go through between this Wikipedia and this other definition I just seen here says something similar, they're describing Antifa, because Wikipedia is kind of typed in, so I looked up something else here. They're describing Antifa, this other one as well, as a group that fights fascists. But people are like, well, they're a terrorist group, or they're this, or they're that. A group is ran by a leader. So, I'm going to say right now, Antifa to me is just a fake boogeyman. Because there was no Antifa movements and nothing like that in communities, and I've known people who are all about we got to make the change and all that. Never heard of them until Trump said something. So I'm going to go with no. That's a fake boogeyman. Now you can say, I got all this evidence. You can say it in my comments. I'm going to tell you immediately, without even putting in the comments. I'm not engaging in this one. I'm just telling you where I see it. If you want to talk, be kind in the comments. If you want to go back and forth, please. But this is just me. That's a fake boogeyman. That's not real. It's happened before. I remember I've looked up stuff to try to find out who did the movement. That's not real. Black Lives Matter is real, and the charters and stuff, because you can go straight to their website and see the crazy stuff. But the problem is that people have this new issue where they lump everybody together. So I seen so many geek channels that I follow where they start talking about this stuff and they go, the peaceful protesters. No, you're an a-hole for that. Because what you're trying to do is, you're trying to, when people did the BLM thing, it's not because they all went to the website and do it. Heck, there's people I know, I said, do you actually know what the Black Lives Matter thing is? And they were like, yeah, it's this. I'm like, okay, now go to their website and see what they really mean. What happened was that a bunch of people appropriated a movement because it sounded close and turned it into something more about equality and things like that. Now, I remember I did a video where I was talking about when Trump did the gas people for the photo op, and somebody in my comments was like, "Hey, I don't like you did this or whatever." It's my channel. Like I said, if you don't like something political, go to the next thing. I got plenty of other stuff. Um, and somebody was there and they said, "Hey, this is what actually happened." So it was kind of crazy going back and forth. Um, I don't like that people are doing that. So then they're trying to go, well, statistically, this, okay, statistically, Caucasian people get shot more than black people, except it should happen because like 60-70% of the population is Caucasian. Only about roughly 13% is black. But if you go and compare the ratio, there's way more black people by ratio that actually get shot. There's a higher percentage versus Caucasian. Now, you could have people like Candace Owens, who I think is a moron because she's against her own people, because all she ever does is down her own people. And I'm not even saying that about Officer Tatum or people like him. I'm talking about her specifically. Um, because she tries to deny the lived experience. Now, when I tell people my experience, people will, no, I can argue that. Okay, I want you to tell me how many times in your life, and I'm in my 30s, from the time you were a teenager to the time you were in your 20s, if you are a person, um, Caucasian or whatever, I want you to tell me how many times in your life have you had a police officer pull a weapon on you? How many times you've been stopped walking and fit a description? How many times you've had a shakedown? Now, you could say, hey, that's anecdotal. I don't live in a bad neighborhood. I've never committed a crime. Nothing. I've been a tax-paying citizen my whole life. I know other people, same situation. They don't even live around me. Some of them live up north. Some of them live down south. Some live out west. I know people all over the country. And they've had same kind of experiences. But you'll be the first one to try to shut it down. Now, you have a bunch of dummies who sit there and decide, oh, I'm so angry, I'm going to burn down the city, because people are angry. And sometimes when people, if you get enough people together and they're all angry, they don't start to think straight. They start to do stupid stuff. Whereas where you see some people doing riots and things like that. And you're like, well, why is it that they let them walk out and protest and they encourage it, yet they tell us to stay in? Well, when they did the statistics, and they checked, a lot of the people that were doing the marches and stuff, they wore their masks. They weren't all together huddled up, and things like that. And actually, a lot of cases did not come from them doing their things. Now, there was protests that happened near me, where I lived, where I worked before I lost my job because of COVID, and all that stuff. Nothing happened. There's other people I know where people protested near them and nothing happened. So what was happening was, these things would happen with some people who they already proved weren't even a part of it. They were just doing it, and people recorded them. Because if you went on social media and actually watched, most times people walked, nothing happened. But they take these few instances, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to diminish anyone's death from that, like police officer and other people, the little girl or anything. I'm not trying to diminish those deaths. And I don't like that there's people who try to justify it by going, well, it's a revolution. No, it's not. You're basically trying to get reform, and because people were telling you, hold on, to shut up and play football, or this isn't the time, or you're not supposed to talk about it. And I've seen people go, well, this is political, so I'm not watching football anymore. Well, everyone's made everything political because they're too busy arguing instead of just thinking of two things. One, take care of yourself. Two, we're all Americans. You can believe what you want, but you shouldn't get to the point where you're like not talking to people anymore because they use their American right. So, I've seen people act like every single situation, which it should be, every situation was talked about, but then they acted like that was the entire situation. So they were like, well, all the peaceful protesters are all doing this, and everyone's a rioter. That's not true. There were people who were looters and rioters. Then there was people who were actually trying to march and to do something. The other reason why it was encouraged was because when these people marched, besides that was their right. Do you have the right to protest? And that's not something deniable. I still think it was completely stupid when I saw Nancy Pelosi and them go down and on the knee. I'm like, I don't care about your knee. We're showing solidarity. No, fix it. Just go and fix the issue. And like I said, I've done videos where people were like propaganda, and then he started going all this crazy life. Here's what I want for police officers. Here's the thing in a nutshell. When people go, oh, defunding, you mean take away all their money. That's not what that means. Stop being an extreme. Basically, that's this video. Stop being extreme. Stop being dumb and being extreme. Look up what it is. When they want to defund, they want to take the stuff, put it back in the community to stop people with mental health issues and things from creating cop situations like that one guy who got shot in front of his mom. But he was actually having a mental schizophrenic issue, not outburst. He was having an episode. Now, what police should have, they should have mace. They should basically discharging the weapon should be the last thing a cop should ever do, unless it's a situation where someone has a weapon pointed at them, like a firearm. They should have mace, tasers. Heck, they could even have some of the rubber bullets or stuff if they have to. But I understand why they don't. I call them billy clubs because that's the old school thing, but they're retractables. Like, there should be a lot of things there before you get to that. And a lot of places, because of how communities are set up, how governments are set up, and governors, each one runs their own state, they're not. And they should be. And that's a problem. There's too many, and then there's so many people who roll their eyes at the deaths of these criminals, or, like I said, like Candace Owen, who sits there and goes, I'm not going to celebrate a criminal. Nobody's celebrating the criminal. What they're doing is the reason why they're wearing the shirts and stuff is because these people still deserve justice. When you say things like that, like, well, I don't support this movement because I don't celebrate criminals, and they're just trying to glorify criminals and stuff, which you're basically saying, even though you may have prefaced with, hey, I don't want anyone dead, or, but that's what you're doing. So you're basically saying, yes, you do. If you don't want somebody there, like, I believe in the movement because I've seen it too much. These people should be going to jail, getting in court in front of their peers. They should not be dying if they are fighting. And people are like, well, they shouldn't resist. Once again, unless they're pulling out something, force should be met with force. If you have 3 or 4 officers there, you should be able to take someone down. And if you can't, and you have to discharge, wing them. Don't go straight to the center mass or something. And that's how we're trained. No, an arm shot, a leg shot, something like that to bring them down. Now, they, like I said, once it gets to a certain point, like, okay, that's it. But I've seen Crowder and all these people. Well, what do you want them to actually stab them before you shoot them? You don't actually have to shoot the person. You could have tased them. You could have maced them. I did martial arts. You can disarm somebody, especially if they can't see or can't smell or all their static is going on. So, like I said, Antifa's a fake boogeyman. I don't accept it. You can say I don't. You can say this. No, and it's stupid, and I don't accept it. So, no, that doesn't exist to me. Now, like I said, the BLM thing does. The crazy people who are in there, yes, they should not be rioting. They shouldn't be doing it because they're taking attention from the actual cause. And a lot of people who do walk or do actually peaceful protests, which, by the way, for every one bad riot thing, I've also noticed people are like, billions upon billions of dollars in damage. No, it's not. They've actually showed it. It's a lot of damage, but it's not like 50 to 100 billion from what I've seen. It's definitely a few millions in property damage, and it's stupid because these people are. Then they take it and go the peaceful protesters, and that's not what it is. Now, so I would encourage everyone to stop doing that and stop telling everybody that they need to wake up on both sides. No, you need to go to sleep because you're sleep deprived. Wake up. No. People believe what they believe because that's how they see it. They're already awake. And I'm talking about whether you're right or left. The extremes are the problem. So now we're going to go to the other one. Now, when people are kind of compare and say, oh, well, Biden should be impeached for it. No, he shouldn't. He's not president. What's going on this thing was you got people, which, by the way, I've seen BLM things where people were walking and police would attack them even if they weren't doing anything. They weren't attacking anything. Now, the ones who were attacking, yes, full force, tear gas, the whole nine. When these people went on the Capitol, they were dragging. I actually waited and I watched more videos. They were dragging police officers out. These same people who go, we're all about Trump. Who even Trump does not support that. And they're beating the bricks off of these police officers. I was shocked that more people didn't get taken down. I'm not saying it should have, but I was shocked. It took, when they even heard that the BLM was coming, they had all these national security, National Guards and stuff. And I'm like, why aren't they out there now? Apparently you did know about this thing going on, and now for the next 4 days, from the 16th to the 20th, they're like, we're going to go to every Capitol building or everything. Then people were like, oh, it's Antifa, it's Antifa. How is it Antifa if these people who you can clearly see, because they didn't hide, my friend showed me the guy took Nancy Pelosi's thing and the podium and put it on eBay. Somebody else, the guy called the FBI. These people are claiming it, and they're not just claiming it. They're all about it, and they're brazen with it. Completely brazen about it. I did this. I'm awesome. Here's my name. I'm calling time because I'm a revolutionary. These people, when you say, well, what's the difference? Well, why? The people who are trying to do the BLM thing is trying to get equality with a bunch of wing nuts that go in there and start creating chaos because either A, they wanted to do something to be greedy and try to take advantage of the chaos, or B, they're just nuts and they want to go in there, they're hardcores. But everyone else is trying to do this. They're trying to actually fix a problem that's there. Whether you believe the problem is there or not doesn't matter. These people do. People that experienced it. And you should be able to respect that. As such, I do not, and I've seen people do this, I do not lump that Colt 45 crazy insurrection that we haven't had since like the middle 1800s, since the British was there. And not only did these people storm, here's the difference. When you have the looters and the rioters, they kind of just happen. They start doing stuff, and there's people who actually have stopped them. I love how they ignore that. You can go on social media and see where people are like, what are you doing? And they would go at them, and There was people who showed when people were setting up bricks and saying this is the BLM, and they're like, that's not us. There's a lot of videos where they show that because there's looters and people who do it and they took advantage. But the movement was about equality. The people who actually vote for Trump, I don't I don't lump them all as, oh, they're all fascist stuff. I think that they were tired of certain ways how things were. I've had people say Obama did not do anything. That's wrong. You can easily look up the stuff he did. But if you feel that way, because I'm talking about facts now, you can look up the facts and see it. I understand. I get why you would have. I don't, like I said, that doesn't matter whether I agree with you or not. I get why you did. I don't think it's right to then lump them. People keep doing this minimalist lump C, and that's not what it is. These guys came in completely organized. They were people from military stuff. They had walkie-talkies. They came with weapons. There was pipe bombs. There was Molotov cocktails that someone had in their car. They came with bats. They came with the intention to do something. There's people who came in there with zip ties to kidnap people. That's not the same thing as people trying to protest and then the rioters kind of went off. Or some people got really, really mad, so they decided they just went off because they're angry. Anger is a fire that's fed and can be fed and can grow out of control. That wasn't anger per se. There was anger in there, but that was coordinated. There are people who live streamed, there are people who got in, there are people who did these things. That was an insurrection attempt. That was a coup attempt. That was someone trying to take away your democracy. There's one thing if you don't agree with something and you're like, I don't see this problem, whatever reasons or something, and I don't agree with rioters and looters, and I think it's terrible that rioters and looters did these things because they tried to take away from the message. Whether people set up stuff or not, there were loons in there because there's extremists. Those people were extremists. And I remember one of the senators, well, the facial recognition software said it was Antifa. And then the facial recognition people were like, no, but we did see neo-Nazis. We did see them. There was no Antifa in there. That's why I'm saying fake boogeyman. The thing with the big tech is trying to do this. No. People need to understand that when there's freedom of speech, doesn't mean you get to just say whatever wingnut thing, left, right, whatever you want to say. And if your words or your things are inciting bad stuff, it's wrong. And if you don't believe me, walk up to a police officer, walk up to a judge, or walk up to them and say, you know what? I'm going to slap you. I want to hit you. Or I want to overturn your entire police station. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to overturn it. You're going to get arrested. Because that's a form of a threat. If people are talking and they have rhetoric that leads that way, no, it's now showing that you can get people excited and a mob. Now, when people are like, it's freedom of speech. No, it's not. There is an actual difference between freedom of speech and not freedom of speech, where the speech is now doing something. Freedom of speech is you being able to say, I don't support Democrats, or I don't support Republicans, or I don't like the government, or I don't like the religion, or I don't like this. That's your freedom of speech, because there's countries that can't say it. And they would get arrested, people would tell on them. Your freedom of speech is not trying to overturn the government. And these people that did this, and I can't wait till they all go to justice. Now, the thing that's censoring, like the thing that happened with Josiah Rises, that wasn't cool at all. They just banned him for no reason. And it was on a video, he wasn't even talking about politics, if I remember correctly. But a lot of people are like, well, our conservative things are getting in our parlors. Well, the problem is when you follow that rhetoric that these people are saying, because I look at both sides. The rhetoric a lot of times matches the rhetoric of those people who caused the insurrection or tried to do the insurrection. Do I think that conservatives should be completely shut out and stuff? No. Or right people? No. But same thing. I don't think the left should either. I think both sides should be able to talk. But you need to get rid of the crazies. Now, when people are saying, "Oh, you're the boogeyman," no. If you look up the alt right, there's a leader. If you look up most movements, there's a leader. You look up BLM, there's a leadership thing in there. Antifa doesn't. So I do not lump, and I don't think people should keep lumping everyone together with the extremists for their movements. The people who are like, oh well, the election was stolen, and you can't. Here's another problem I have. In 2016, the liberal left and stuff was saying that same exact thing, and you on the right kept saying, because I seen it, just accept it. Stop trying to take him out. Stop trying to impeach. Stop trying to do this with the Russia thing, all that. Just accept that he's your president. After they did the impeachment stuff and he passed through it, and, he got through it, I started saying that. I was like, well, they already checked it. He didn't get convicted. You got to accept it. That's the point. You got to accept it. Now, but then now and people were talking about like there was proof of tampering, there's proof of this and that and other, and they were like, you're all crazy. You're all just a bunch of crazies. This is the right. The left was like, no, 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 there's a conspiracy. Now the roles have flipped, and I'm seeing the exact same thing on the right, who always says the left is all off the rocker, saying the exact same stuff, doing stuff, even though there's evidence that shows otherwise, and they're like, nope, 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 it's this. What that proves is both of you are exactly the same. You're both smart and you're both dumb. So why are you doing this? Stop it. This is stupid. Sorry, that was you got water. I put it down. You can drink the water. People need to stop with this whole gang thing and to come together and stuff. Everything you're talking is the same thing you call about the liberals, but the difference is these people gathered up and then attacked and tried to take down the government. That's another level. The BLM and the riots, that when it came to the riots and the looting, that's terrible. But let's compare crimes here. These people are stealing and creating public unrest. You arrest them. As a matter of fact, they were. That's the other funny thing. They were when they were just putting hoods on people and taking them away. Because, that's what America does. But there were people who got arrested and everything. And then you had this side who tried to flip and change democracy. These are two different levels of crime. This one is terrible. This one is beyond. This one is horrendous. And as these people do not hide, I'm glad they're all coming to justice. What it comes down to is this. Stop. If you're a person, you catch yourself and all you do is on your social media all day, I'm all about the right. Y'all need to wake up. Y'all need to wake up. I'm all about Trump, all about this. The conservative is the right way and liberals are everything. Or if you're on the left and Trump is the worst thing ever. Da, 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 da. And there's people who are like, well, if Trump is, for example, they're like, well, Trump is a fascist. They're like, Trump is great. He loves black people, this, even though these things are there. Then they're like, well, Trump is this, and da, 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 even though things are there. Even if you feel if somebody is anti something, they're always going to have people who are going to support them if they're charismatic enough, if they're popular enough. The majority doesn't support it. So when someone goes, well, why are these people following Trump and why are black people following Trump, but yet you say he's ist and a fascist and all this other stuff, it's because there are people who are going to follow it no matter what is said or done. But the majority says otherwise. That's why there is a new sitting president, a president-elect. These people are doing coordinated attacks, and honestly, a lot of the riots and stuff actually calmed down and kind of stopped. There's people who did that. There's things that happened, and people were like, "Look, y'all can't do this." But now you're going, well, what about these? No, you need to focus on what's now. And what's now is that these people through the FBI are telling them, no, we're doing more. We're not going to stop. That's different than we're protesting, we're angry, and these fools did this, and then these angry, like you have the set of these are the fools who did this that came there specifically to loot stuff, and then these people got really, really, really angry because of the way the police did something, and they went after them. That needs to be calmed down with a different thing. These people are actually doing coordinated attacks. These people have plans, plots, things to overturn, going after people. That is different. That is not a random act of violence. That is, so it's like, hey, you walked in and somebody's hurting your child and you accidentally take them out. That is not premeditated. When these things happen, they're not premeditated. But these are premeditated. These are with intention and purpose to flip and overthrow. And I need people to stop trying to, well, what about this? No, though you should not be defending them on the right or the left. Same token, you should not be defending rioters and looters on the right or the left. You should not be defending that kind of violence. People need to stop holding so hard to their side that they're like, well, everyone else is wrong in this. No, the problems are both. Remember, all the people who run the country are in the top 5%. I think only a couple of them aren't, of money. There's a dude, I seen the thing where the pyramid, just like a normal pyramid, think about it, and they have the lines, right? So if this is the pyramid, let's say that's the triangle, right? When you get to the top 5%, that's like right here, the poor and this are at the bottom base. It is such a large margin, it's insane. And these are the people that are running the country. They're the ones making the decisions. But people are holding on so tight to their political sides, they're forgetting about their humanity. They're forgetting about the other things. And your one political belief does not define you as a whole person. And I think people need to stop doing that. Because you need to ask someone, why did they do this? And when you do, even if you don't agree with it, you can accept it and be like, okay, this is what it is. But are they bad in every other category? Or just this one? Because if it's just that one, you shouldn't be so hardcore. That's like you, I made a mistake and I accidentally crashed a car. You're the worst driver ever and you can never drive again. Like, let's calm down. This insurrectionist thing needs to be handled. It was disgusting, it was deplorable, and it was rough. This particular video, like I said, I'm not really going to go into comments. I'm not going to go back and forth. This is my thoughts. This is how I feel. I feel that rioters and looters should not be doing that. What I'm seeing here is beyond rioting and looting. These are coordinated attacks to overthrow America. I've seen people go, Civil War. Like, no. These are two different situations. So please stop bringing this up in that argument. Bring that up in its own, even though that's kind of calmed down. We need to come together and be better. I'm not talking about the impeachment, how I feel, that's my own personal thing. I'm talking about this situation and what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people divide over it. No. Every American, right or left, needs to understand that these Colt 45 people, these particular people, are trying to do something that the president himself condemned. Seen a video where he condemned it, flat out this time. Some people are like, well, do you believe him or not? Doesn't matter. He condemned it. Other people are condemning it. But when I see Fox and them go, but Antifa, no, that shouldn't, no. That's not Antifa. No, it's not. These people are hardcore, crazy, right-wing, Trump-supporting Cult 45. Whether Trump, you got, Giuliani out there saying, let's do combat by blood, and people go, inciting, sorry, that's an inciting words, but these were very specific people with very specific coordination to do. Their intention was not, I'm just angry. Their intention was, I'm angry and I'm going to cause havoc and I'm going to overthrow the government. That is a very different thing. And people need to accept that. And I'm sorry, you should not be supporting that. If you are supporting that, that argument there killed the other argument. Because those were extremists I'm using my left. Those were extremists over there who are doing the rioting and looting, and these are extremists over here. And extremists should not be tolerated because extremists do stuff, but these are coordinated, and they're even going, yeah, we're coordinating these next sets of attacks. So, no. These are Trump supporting psychos. And I'm not saying if you're a Trump supporter, you're a psycho. I'm talking about these specific people are Trump supporting psychos. Like, they're extremists. That's why I'm calling them specifically Cult 45, because they're to that level. So this is Geek Protagonist. You stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. Um, I hope you all are safe, and I hope you all are like right there with me. Like, no, extremists has got to go, and I'm talking about both sides. That's what it comes down to. Extremists has got to stop. So those are my thoughts, and I wanted to get that out. More content back to the geek stuff coming at you, and I'll see you.